Welcome to Gumball Love. I'm Melissa Ledger, professional relationship coach, creator of Gumball Love and the Back to You Academy. If you're ready to stop the cycle of toxic men, get through the breakup once and for all, and finally get back to you, you are in the right place. This journey is about healing your heart, and you are encouraged to take the pace that is just right for you. In the process, you will build a foundation of confidence and strength that will make you unshakable, I promise. So get ready to level up your mindset and your lifestyle as you awaken the seeds of greatness just waiting to burst into full bloom. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. All right, today, you guys, we're going to talk about something I have never really discussed in this way. A lot of you contact me and say, Melissa, I feel like I'm the Gumball Girl. And almost every single time when I coach any of you and you feel like you're the Gumball Girl, you're really not. But I'm going to tell you why you may feel that way, and also what the payoff for you is when you're dating or when you are communicating, even at the beginning levels of online dating, with a gumball guy. And just as a reminder for those of you that are new, or just a quick refresher, what is the gumball? What are we even talking about? What is this thing? What is this gumball love? So when I define gumball love, it's attention addiction. So how do I know if somebody is in this for the dopamine rush of the instant gratification, the filling the void, the pleasure-inducing, pain-suppressing, like whatever the interaction, the flavors of the gumballs, and we've gone through all of those in previous podcasts. But if you haven't listened to any of those, all the gumball represents is the stimulant, the high, the rush of sex, drama, being entertained, jealousy, pity, the chase, being the center of attention, having someone prove themselves to you. All of these flavors of attention are extremely addictive. And the entire point of this, or the point of this entire concept, is to help you quickly and readily be able to identify, is this person wanting me to soothe them, stimulate them, validate them, or fill a void? Or are they here to connect? Are they here to build? Are they here because they have a genuine interest in me, in other people? Are they able to invest? Are they looking to do the long term? And once you can identify that, you can really explore and feel excited about the relationship, because I can tell you with almost 100% certainty that if you're seeing these flags, or you're seeing these, I'm going to talk about quarters, if they put in the quarter to get the gumball, then 9 times out of 10, that is the type of relationship you're going to be in. So what does it look like when they're putting in a quarter to get the gumball? So we've all gone up to a gumball machine, we've all put in a quarter, and we twist the dial. And what color are you hoping for, right? I was always hoping for red because I like the flavor of red. A lot of people love the red gumball. But when you think about a guy who interacts with a girl and he essentially puts in the quarter because he's looking for a certain type of attention, what does that look like? So a quick quarter is, what are you wearing? When you get that text early on and it's somebody you don't really know, that's the quarter to talk about sex. So let's just break this down a little bit. If he puts in the quarter, what are you wearing? Then what are you going to do? Are you going to respond with, I'm wearing cute shorts. I'm wearing my thong underwear. Like when you respond with, I'm wearing sexy jammies, or you respond with a sexy photo, that's the gumball. You just gave him the red sex gumball. So sex, the gumball itself, can be anything related to sex. And it starts usually in the text messages. Sometimes it starts in the online dating app DMs. But that's the quarter that tells you, that's him putting in the quarter and twisting that dial. And as he's waiting for you to respond, he's cranking it, hoping, ooh, I'm sitting here waiting for my little dopamine hit. Because what does the gumball do? It soothes, it stimulates, it validates, it's filling the void, it's instant gratification, it brings pleasure, it suppresses pain. These are all the things I'm quantifying for the book to help you really understand. So also, if there's any delays in podcasts, it's because writing a book and podcasting is hard to do, but I'm trying to incorporate the writing process. I've decided to incorporate the writing process with the podcasting process so I can share this journey with you. So by the time the book comes out, you'll be like, oh my God, this is everything we've been talking about in the podcast, but in an organized way where you can reference it, because I really want you to feel empowered by this. And I want you to be able to sit on the other side of that phone and think, okay, I just got a quarter, and I think he wants the red gumball because it's going toward the sex category. Okay. But let's talk about what you get if you give the red gumball. If you tell him you're wearing a sexy thong or you send a picture, now he's thinking, ooh. And then what does he respond with? He responds with usually a compliment. Oh my God, so hot. You have amazing blank, blank, blank. You have amazing boobs. You have a great butt. You have amazing legs. Oh my gosh, your lips are so sexy. And guess what? Now you just got a gumball. So sometimes the response, because now what do you feel? You feel stimulated. You feel validated. You feel sexy. You feel desired. So then there's all the things that come with getting the sex gumball. You feel that desire. You feel, oh my gosh, I feel beautiful. Oh, wow. I now you're looking at your lips going, are they sexy lips? I think they are. So then you're doing, this is why we do the duck face, because I'm like, oh, we have sexy lips. And so all of those thoughts enter our mind, which then give us the dopamine hit. This is where we feel like, am I the gumball girl? Because now you just responded. He put in a quarter, he got the gumball. And then you could argue that your response is also another quarter to give, so he can give you another gumball. Now you can see how this whole conversation, this sexting conversation, is nothing but dopamine trade-offs. I know, right? I'm not here to ruin your party, but it doesn't mean that we can't do this. It doesn't mean that it's wrong to be in a sexy conversation. However, if it's only being done for the stimulant and the high we're getting in that interaction, and there's no interest in you beyond that, or no even knowledge of who you are. So if we decide we're going to interact with a guy and we're only going to go down this road and he doesn't really know anything else about you, then sometimes this is where it begins and ends, because you don't know, hey, is there depth on the other side of this guy? So then at the end of the conversation, there's the emptiness. It's just like the drug, and this is where I really teeter on this being an addiction, and I wish I was a scientist and I could, get all the funding to really dive into whether or not this behavior is actually a true addiction like drugs, alcohol, like a sex addiction, because it certainly does mimic a lot of those things. It can become addictive. Some people can play in this, just like some people can. There are alcohol abusers, and then there are alcoholics, people that can abuse alcohol when they drink too much when they drink, but then they can go 2 months without drinking. So sometimes people can get into this and then they can get out of it. They can be gumball people for a while, and then they actually do want something deeper. And so I don't know, that's a whole different topic for a whole different podcast, but I want you to be keeping in mind, what do I get out of this? Because you're getting something out of it. You're getting a gumball, basically, or multiple gumballs. So you walk away feeling like, I'm sexy, I'm wanted, I'm desired, which then can prompt you to want to hook up because you want to feel, you want all five senses involved in, and then the high and the rush it builds. Sexual tension, sexual energy, that's why a lot of guys lead with this. It's extremely powerful. It makes us feel really good. And that dopamine rush that's releasing in your brain, the serotonin, it's powerful. And so it's difficult when we feel really attracted to someone to stop in our tracks and go, what am I doing here? What am I high on? So you can interrupt the interaction and try to distract yourself if you feel like you are getting caught up in it. However, sometimes you're not caught up in it. It's a guy that does it too quickly and it doesn't turn you on, and you don't feel like telling him that you're wearing sexy underwear when you're actually sitting there in your joggers that are your fuzzy joggers and your slippers, and you haven't washed your hair in 3 days. Like that probably is more likely in your messy bun, right? So, like, what can I tell him that I am wearing that sounds cute? And then you're like, do I have anything sexy in my closet? I don't know if I do. So that is the moment you can, and I'm not telling you to play games, but I did play games with a few guys when I was in New York when they would message me, like the guy that wanted to hook up immediately. I remember one guy specifically, I would ask him, I remember asking him, okay, so you want to hook up right now? Yeah, man. He was all into it. And I was like, but you don't want a relationship. Well, no, but we can be friends after. And I was like, okay, so how would we be friends though? Because we don't really know each other. And he's like, well, we would get to know each other after. I was like, oh, so you want to like talk and stuff after we've had the sex and see, where we could develop a friendship? Like, how does that work? This poor guy, but he actually was answering all of my questions, because I was like, I want to get to the bottom of what does he really want out of this interaction? And I said, what if you're not attracted to me when I get there? Like, what if my smell is weird to you, or you actually don't feel it? Oh, I don't think that's going to happen. He just couldn't imagine that happening. But he said, if that happens, that's cool, whatever. Like, if you're not attracted to me, we don't have to go through with it. And so the conversation went on and on and on. And I said, what is the most exciting part? Do you feel like it's the sex? And he said, honestly, it's all the stuff leading up to it that's the most exciting. I got to hand it to the guy for just being honest, because there he was, so excited, but the exciting part wasn't actually sex itself. It was the crescendo, the buildup that made it so exciting. So it's actually what we can do with our mind. And so when I want you to just, I'm saying this because if you can become vividly aware, wow, this dude thinks he's super excited, but he's just like all caught up in the idea of something he really doesn't know the reality of, doesn't know the reality of the girl, doesn't know if he's even going to be attracted to her, but just the idea of the whole thing, he's pumped about it. And I just found that to be, like, to me, the risk of just hooking up with someone blindly without meeting them and just showing up and having sex was just it was just like, I have to know, like, how is this guy even excited about it? I mean, I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine I'm going to get excited. And because, how many dates have you met someone from online and you're like, okay, yeah, not like your photos. And so just to jump from, I gotta hope that you look like your photos, hope that I'm attracted to you in person, and also I'm going to have sex. I was just in awe of these people that were willing to do this. So I would ask them a few more questions. I don't know that I was manipulating or playing games, but I'm genuinely curious also because I write this content. But, I never got their names, so who knows who some dude in New York, that's all I can tell you. So I'm bringing this to your attention because I want you to think about it that way. Okay. Because also, if it doesn't work and he ends up flaking out, then we think, oh, he must be talking to somebody better looking now, or he must not be into me, or you know what I mean? We start to beat ourselves up, and I want to go, no. You gotta get into this addiction cycle that this guy's in, the excitement of, and then who knows, some other chick might be texting him, like you might be saying you're in sexy underwear, but she's sending him full on nudes, and he's gonna respond to that faster because if he's cranking, he's putting in those quarters and he's wanting red gumballs and she's just spitting them out super fast and he's getting rapid fire red gumballs, then yeah, you're gonna be the one that he's responding to every 4 minutes versus rapid fire. And so then you're competing with another girl because you want his sexual energy toward you. So as long as we know what's going on and we know it has nothing to do with us personally, like let's just say you're like, hey, Melissa, I want to do this. I want the attention, right? If you say, I want the attention, then this is the game that you're in. Then you're trying to up her gumballs. Chick number one went sexy underwear, chick number 2 actually showed a picture of her underwear, chick number 3 is doing God only knows what on camera, is sending full on videos, chick number 4 is coming over to his house. So if the guy lives in the world where the red gumball is his number 1, then that is what you're competing with. And that is what your conversations will be around. So the payoff for you, depending on what level he is getting the gumball in return. And this is what makes you feel like a gumball girl, because we have this idea, okay, yeah, he's really into me sexually, but eventually we'll get to that point where we have conversations. We'll get to that point where we feel like we're building a connection. We've watched the movies like Friends with Benefits, and the relationships can evolve out of them. And you know what? They can. I'm not going to say it never happens, but the likelihood of true connection and friendship building from this is highly unlikely. Not impossible, but it's not really the road to marriage for 99% of healthy couples. If you ask, and just start asking couples, it doesn't even have to be the healthiest couple. Just ask, how did you end up to the point where you got married? Did you have sex right away? I guarantee you most of them did not. Some of them do though. Some people can because they're not gumball driven. They may have had sex early on, but they weren't attention seeking. It just happened as part of the interaction. Okay. So again, another podcast, another day. All right. So what's the payoff? If I give the red gumball, I feel pretty, I feel desired, I feel sexy. It brings out your sensuality. And then pretty soon you're putting on, lip gloss, and you're fixing your hair different. And then you are devoting your social media content to that guy. You think you're alone out there? Almost every single person I coach, we talk about that. So then now you're doing Insta stories for him, the guy that's kind of responding, kind of not. And you're hoping that you can lure him in by how sexy you look on Instagram. And then he likes the photo, or he sends a response in your stories or your Snapchat or wherever you're posting. He's watching your stories somewhere. He's watching my stories. He's looking at me. Okay, now how can I lure him in? So then guess what? Your Insta story photo is a quarter because you're looking for the gumball. And what are you looking for? You're looking for a compliment, right? So it's kind of this is the gumball that we're still not 100% on the definition, but it's the look at me gumball. Sorry, we've manipulated the names a little bit, but it's for the book. So the podcast is kind of this is our rough drafts of getting this together. So welcome to the process. But I really think the pink gumball it's either you're wanting to be the center of his attention or the center of attention, but in all of these gumballs, there's so many different ways. Sex is one gumball, but sex is volumes of different ways we can get sex. So the pink gumball, for the sake of this conversation right now, is look at me. So it's like, look at me. Okay, so now he's looking at you. So you got his attention, but it's like, even though we get his attention, we want more. So now you want him to talk to you. You want him to compliment you. You want him to reach out to you. But what did you use to get that attention? You had to use a photo. So whenever we catch ourselves, okay, I'm trying to get his attention by posting a photo of myself, and I hope that he responds. We're not seeking the right guy, okay? Because you are worth more than that. Your worth and value. So we have to see our worth and value as, if I have to post a picture to get his attention, he doesn't see my worth and value, but your worth and value is the same. I've used this example over and over again. A diamond sits at Tiffany's on Fifth Avenue for weeks and weeks and nobody buys it. But do they lower the price? Rarely. I mean, they might put it a little bit on sale, but you know what I'm saying. They're not going to drop that to half price. If a 3-carat diamond ring sits in that case, they know a certain buyer can see the value and will spend the money. So they're willing to wait. They're willing to let that 3-carat diamond sit there because they know there's a buyer. And so they're not going to go, man, nobody's bought that 3-carat diamond for weeks. I wonder if the value isn't as high as we thought. No one thinks that. They know what the value is, so they wait. And that is exactly what we do. We wait until the interaction with someone shows us they are seeing our value. If you keep advertising gumballs, if you keep giving the gumball, and then you give them the high, which then also gives you the payoff, you're going to stay in that cycle. This is the cycle that I was in for a long time. This is something I'm really capturing in the book, that when I started this whole journey, I was being jerked around by all this different advice that was telling me how to give the gumballs. I did not realize at the time this is what most dating advice tells you to do. Okay, if you're going to respond to the gumball, don't do it right away or drag it out or only give him a sneak peek. This doesn't do anything but eventually perpetuate the fact that you're going to see that he's not worth even the pursuit, or even, it's not even worth any of your time. But if you are listening to people that say, oh, wait, this is how you play the game. A lot of times there are many guys over the years, I'm not even talking about anyone current, just in the last 20 years, the men that have been giving dating advice, a lot of times are recovering gumball guys. And they may have recovered and they may feel really bad for what they did in the past, but sometimes in their advice, you can hear it if you're listening with a trained ear. You're like, oh, they're still kind of channeling that old game player, and they're wanting women to sort of feed into it. Yeah, he just wants you to do this or do that, but it's still a game. And we don't want to get into this game of you're going to put the quarter in, I'm going to give the gumball, then you're going to put the quarter in, then you give me the gumball, because you can get into getting the gumballs yourself. But it doesn't make anybody the gumball girl or the gumball guy necessarily, unless this is the only currency. And I want you to think of this also as currency. Is this the currency that we are exchanging in this relationship? Do we have anything outside of gumballs that we talk about? Because yes, sex is fun. Yes, drama can be exciting. I'm going through the flavors, entertainment. I mean, some of these we don't want in relationships, but do you have anything outside of sex that you talk about? Are you connecting on other levels? Because eventually, all the stuff that you're doing in this initial phase, like all this what are you wearing stuff, can be completely fine if you are established, you have, you respect each other, you care about each other. Then have all the flirtation and have all the gumballs you want, because you know that the gumballs are now just dessert. Now it's just, yes, it's still fun. Yes, there's still a rush, but it's not what's holding your relationship. There's a foundation under you. So then all the fun gumball stuff can still happen to a certain degree. However, it's not the meat and potatoes. It's not what's holding your relationship. Okay, so I'm going to go through these. Sex is the one that is the most obvious, that you can really see. What is my payoff? So what if a guy really wants drama? What if he is calling you crazy? He's picking fights, or he's doing things that create some kind of drama. We'll just leave it as general. So if you feel like, okay, this is just drama, what do you get out of it? So now you're feeding into it. One of the main things that I was just on a call with my girl who's helping me, Stephanie's helping me with this whole putting this book together. And do you know what the main thing people get from drama is? Telling fun stories. If you're in drama, now you have a fun story to tell. And you are now entertaining your coworkers, your family, your friends, whatever. And so this having drama to talk about is actually another gumball. So this is also the payoff he's getting, and it's the payoff you're getting. So you can kind of see how your payoff and being part of the drama is that you have a story to tell. And now you're sharing it with your girlfriend, or you're sharing it with that person next to you at work. And then they're like, oh my God, I can't even believe he said that. Well, what did you say? I think you should say this back. I've been in these situations many times where all of a sudden it's fun, it's exciting. And then it's not exciting after a while, because then you see the judgment of those same coworkers. Like, are you still talking to him? Like, I can't believe you're still in that conversation. Then all of a sudden there's shame associated with the drama, because eventually it does get ridiculous, because there's nothing sustainable. It's a gumball, right? So then we move on to the entertain me. So if I fall for the guy or I fall for the gumball where, to me, the number one quote unquote quarter for entertain me is I'm bored. Sometimes they actually say, I'm bored. Have you ever gotten this text? Hey, what's up? What are you doing? I'm bored. What are you doing? And so then that I'm bored creates that people pleaser response. Well, let me entertain you then. Let me make you not bored. Let me make it exciting for you. And then when you achieve that, that's your gumball. So that's your payoff. You get the payoff for then entertaining him. Okay, next one. I'm going to just breeze through this really quick. What do you get out of the green gumball? So the green gumball is envy. So that's compete with her for me. So now if I'm competing against other women, have you ever done this where you realize there's some other chick in the mix, whether it's online dating? I'm still seeing other people. I really like you, but he's like the Bachelor, right? You don't have the final rose. So then what is in it for you to stay in this competitive ring of other women? It's one thing to be online dating. And of course, there are other people in the ring all the time, right? Because this is the process of dating. But when I choose to tell the person, hey, guess what? There's somebody else in here, or there's a couple other people. You have basically you have competition. If I choose to tell him that, or he chooses to tell you that, now he's created tension, which creates intensity, which then now we're into the gumball situation. Now I am competing if I choose to. So let's just say you choose to acknowledge the other woman. You choose to have a conversation about it. Whatever you do to talk about the other girl gives him the gumball, because it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm still married, but we don't sleep in the same bed. I am in the middle of a divorce, but she no longer lives with me, but we're still not quite divorced yet. I have children with someone I'm not quite divorced with. So now there's interaction, and he's choosing to bring you into that picture. And so now there's another person that there seems to be, and sometimes they will tell you there's unresolved things going on. I really like you, but here she is. And so now if you choose to discuss it, this is also becoming part of the drama. So if I bring somebody else into the picture, I have green gumballs, and I'm also creating drama. So I have orange gumballs. So now he likes drama and he likes other women in the picture. So what's the payoff? In short, the payoff would be winning, right? I want to win. I want to be better than her. I want to be more exciting than her. So what we start doing is we start giving more gumballs to him to show him. Then you start proving yourself. So then this provokes, okay, the white gumballs are prove yourself to me. So we start offering gumballs sometimes that he's not even putting in the quarters for, just because you're in, I want to win. Because if you win, that's your payoff. So this is when you feel like, am I the gumball girl? This is where you're going into that world because you feel like you want the guy so bad, because for whatever reason, he's tripped all the triggers. Everything syncs up to the way he looks, the way he talks, the way he acts. Like everything about this guy is like, oh my God, I just like him. I've got to have him. And I know that there's drama, but I really feel like he's done with her. And he says this about me and I believe him. And so I'm just making you aware. Are you feeding into, is the payoff winning? And you get so focused on that payoff that you don't realize that you're just giving gumballs in the process. Is he really connecting with you, getting to know you, investing in you, your life, the things that matter to you? Or are you just in this perpetual cycle of gumballs? I know it can be depressing at first, but I want you to just be empowered and go, man, if I can really back up and see myself doing this, and then I can see what he's doing, and I look at the payoff that I'm getting and the payoff that he's getting, you know what it does? It shows you that, you know what, this has nothing to do with me not being enough. The worst things we can think of is, I'm ugly, I'm too fat, I'm not enough, I'm going to be single forever, because these interactions can get super freaking depressing. Because if he goes back to her, oh man, he went back to her, I guess I'm not enough. No, if you can see this perpetual gumball cycle going on and you see yourself participating, you see him participating, look, this is pretty natural, normal human responses. We get jealous. We want to compete. Like we're not weirdos out here. Everyone's doing this. I would say the majority of people will fall into these categories. This is why everyone feels like online dating is such a mess, because no one can really identify this type of behavior. If everyone could just be real and open and authentic, all of these games would go away. But because we have insecurities, because we don't really want people to see who we actually are, we hide behind all of these facades. And then we really do want connection. We really do want love and companionship. But a lot of people are hiding. And so to slightly come out of hiding, they'll maybe do it with, I want sex. Or to slightly come out of hiding, they'll ask for a little bit of pity. Because if you pity me and you feel sorry for me for my circumstances, I still feel a little bit of closeness, which is, all of these things are kind of knockoffs of friendship. It's not friendship really, but it feels close to it. And they get the high, but they're not really getting the real thing. Because I was doing this with my significant other. I was like, look, let's divide this list down. We look at all the flavors of the gumballs and we look at, do any of these things exist in friendship, or are they required in friendship? Are they key components to friendship? You're not proving yourself to your friend. You don't have your friends, because when you have a really true friend, they are not telling you, look at me, look what I'm doing, like a true friend. There's an even exchange. There's no like making them the center of attention. You don't have to chase them. Your relationship isn't based on pitying them. They're not making you jealous of other friends that they have. They don't expect you to entertain them. They're not creating drama. And, I know it's weird because like the sex gumball, obviously you're not having sex with your friend, but even in healthy relationships, think of couples that have to go long periods of time without having sex because somebody is sick, somebody's away at war, someone has a disease that prevents them from ever being able to have sex again, whether it's, cancer or they were paralyzed. I mean, you guys, people have gone through, these things are real, and couples stay together. Why? Because the relationship is not based on these short-term fixes. The relationship is based on so much more. The foundational pieces of friendship, real connection, a real interest in that person, and they become invested. You become intertwined. And so the gumball highs can be nice. They're nice. Don't get me wrong. Everyone loves a dopamine hit. Everybody loves to be, I'm just going to remind you, the gumball, it soothes, it stimulates, it's intense, it validates, it's instant gratification. It's like ice cream. It's like dessert. Everyone loves that. Suppresses pain, induces pleasure. It's a transaction, right? It's a quick fix, but it doesn't last. And so ask yourself, is this interaction, I am getting a payoff, but is my response reinforcing this behavior over and over and over again? My significant other is like, is your response reinforcing this? Am I feeding into this behavior where it's just going to perpetuate it? And then I want to ask you this. What happens when you don't give them the gumball? Have you ever tried not doing it? So as you are evaluating this process back and forth, ask yourself, or try it. Okay, when he asks what I'm wearing, don't respond. And see what kind of, sometimes if you take a gumball guy that's like a leg humper, he's really wanting sex, let's say you have no interest. And I welcome you, go ahead and try a few experiments and watch this behavior. You're dating online. Don't get so upset about a guy who's really not taking a genuine interest in you. These guys are in bad places. They're online dating and they're terrible texters and they're really rude. I see these posts in the private Facebook group all the time, and I just want to say, look, if you're not getting the response you're looking for, if you're really not feeling it, if you have to coach him in the text, I really don't feel like you're interested in me. If you have to say those words, then you've lost it. It's already done right there. Don't ask him if he's interested. Communicate with him and you do your part. If he doesn't do his part, then move on. But we don't want to become relationship coaches. We don't want to become, hey, I really don't feel like you're interested in me. I'm really not hearing the responses I want. This is who he is. This is how he shows up. And that's what you get. So when you don't give the gumball, and I cannot believe, I was just telling Steph this, my book consultant, I said, I cannot believe. So Dana Morningstar, who wrote or has the Thrive After Abuse, she used to be on narcissistsupport.com. I believe it might still come up under narcissistsupport.com. I'll look it up and put it in the show notes for you. But Dana Morningstar has a great philosophy, and she speaks mostly about narcissism because she had a horrific narcissist boyfriend, and she did so many amazing YouTube videos. I know many people that have been healed through her work, and I'm going to reach back and get this book, but it's under something I don't want to knock over. Okay, here it is. So Dana Morningstar, she has a book out called Frequently Asked Questions About Dating After Narcissistic Abuse. But the greatest weapon against the narcissist is what she calls the gray rock. So many times people have said, what is the opposite of a gumball? And I'm going to credit Dana Morningstar for the gray rock. If you ask me for a gumball, a juicy dopamine candy-covered hit of excitement, of intensity, and I want to be soothed and stimulated and validated, and you hand me a gray rock, it's probably like the opposite of what I would be looking for, right? And that's what she says to give to narcissists is make your response, and a lot of times it's zero, as exciting as a gray rock. So as you're interacting, I want you to think of what is the opposite of what he's looking for. And if you give those responses, then observe how they respond. What happens? So a lot of times you may get no response from him. And that will tell you, oh, if I don't give the gumball, you end the conversation. And I want you to put your hands behind your head. I'm actually doing it right now. Put your hands behind your head and be like, he doesn't respond when I don't give the gumball. Case closed, done with this guy. He revealed exactly who he is. Or he might freak out. He might call you a prude. If he says, what are you wearing? And you say, hey, I'm headed into a meeting. Can we chat later? Or I'm just headed into a meeting. I don't know, bad example, but something completely non-related to what are you wearing? Now, I really want you to also consider how far you are into this relationship. If you've never met and you've had no conversation like that whatsoever, you know when what are you wearing is inappropriate. And so, but if you want to try these things just to kind of see how these guys operate, and you can pretend like you're me and be like, what would Melissa do if she was doing research? I mean, maybe allow yourself a little exploration here and say, give him a gray rock and see what happens. Does he call you a prude? Does he get upset? Does he freak out? But I want you to not feed into his drama to where it's getting you emotionally upset. So I remember, in the beginning stages where I was still too tender, and if he said something mean, or if he had seen my photo and he would get angry because I wasn't giving him what he wanted and he could give me a zinger, that could still hurt me. So I don't want you to get hurt in this process, but I want to have what happened to me happen to you, where I was proven this over and over again. Like, wow, they really are just looking for this. There is no interest in a relationship whatsoever. Like where this guy is, it's just some of these guys are just freaking gross. And that's where they are, and they're never going to change. Yes, there are some guys that aren't this bad. And maybe they're just going through a phase and they can recover. I do believe that these people, these guys, men and women, we can recover. We can change. We can have life-changing experiences if we are aware and we're willing to put in the effort, absolutely. But I also don't want you, as you're flipping through all these guys online and you think, and you're in these conversations and you're getting just barraged with gross interaction, gross text messages. I don't want you to feel like you have to try to sift through the sleaze to hopefully find something good in it, that you can immediately eliminate it when you see, oh, there's the quarter. What are you wearing? Or I'm bored, or I'm sad, I'm depressed, or he's disappearing for hours on end when you're in the middle of a conversation, or he comes back 3 days later and then disappears again. That kind of behavior, you're feeding into it. But what's the payoff, right? If he disappears and he comes back, that feels good, right? It feels like, oh my God, he really is into me. He didn't forget about me. So ask yourself, am I doing this because I'm getting the gumball of, oh, he's coming back, and I get that dopamine rush? Because we should actually be getting the real thing, real conversation, real interest, consistency. So if he is not consistent, and this is what you want to look for over time, your interaction with a guy who's genuinely interested in you will be consistent. He will come back, he will pursue, he will be engaged, he will want to call, he will want to meet you, set up dates. It's not going to be a mystery. It's not going to be this back and forth. And so I want you to just keep that in mind. So the whole point of this podcast is to keep you aware of what am I getting out of this? Because even though we can paint the gumball guy as some bad guy, and we can make this interaction like, oh boy, we better stay away from gumball guys, we also can feed into it. And let's be honest, it can be kind of fun, especially when there's chemistry, attraction, and you are both kind of into each other, but for whatever reason, you or him, you're not ready to actually have a mature interaction that moves forward. Then we get caught up in these gumball games, and we're essentially just exchanging the dopamine high. Here's your dopamine, here's your dopamine. But if there's always a crash at the end, and I want you to be aware of that too, is there always a point where it has that feeling of now what? Because once the high is over, zero in on that. And the best way you can do this for me is to journal it, to write it down. Okay, yes, this was exciting. Here's what happened. But then it ended. Or now there's the lull. What's going on in the lull where he's quiet? He's not interacting with you. You reach out to him. He doesn't respond. Now you wait. And in the waiting part, I just was coaching a client a couple days ago. She said, I went out with a guy and I thought we had a great time. And I didn't hear from him for 2 days. And I was like, day one. Then all of a sudden she hears from him on the second day. He was like, I'm really bad at this dating stuff, but I really did enjoy meeting you and I'd love to see you again. And she said, for the first time, I didn't just wreck myself in those 2 days and think, oh my God, I guess I didn't hear from him because, we're in this, you text right away and this instant gratification where he waited a couple of days. And maybe he waited a couple of days because he thinks he's supposed to, or he thinks he looks over anxious. We're still, if you're dating people in their 40s and 50s, 60s or beyond, waiting a couple of days or even 3 days was the standard. And so you just don't know. So if you don't have the confidence in who you are, you don't know your own value. If you don't know you're the 3-carat diamond sitting at Tiffany's and your value didn't change regardless of all of these different responses, if you're constantly adjusting your price tag because based on the responses or lack of responses of people, it's always going to look confusing. And you're going to be sitting there 24 hours after you went out with the guy. And if he's not responding, we can't get into that circle where we're questioning our worth and what we have to offer and what we have to bring to the table. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there. That was a lot. It's pretty intense podcast. And I know that this is also not extremely popular to be looking at yourself and examining yourself. However, you are my warrior. If you got through this podcast, you're one of the few that can do this, because the world is full of, and I've been guilty years ago. It's easier, right? I shouldn't say the world is full. Like there's the part of us that stands in the grocery store or at Target and looks at Glamour or Cosmo and wants that top 10 list of how to make him do whatever or make him want you. And we read that and we want that to work because it's instant. It's like gumball dating advice, where this could be the gray rock advice. It's not as exciting, but it does work for the long term and it does make you feel so much better. I started feeling so much better way before I met my significant other. About 2 to 3 years of good, solid. I felt good. I was enjoying my life. I felt comfortable in my own skin. I was doing the things that made me happy, that made me feel fulfilled. It started with moving to New York and then doing the things that I wanted to do in New York. But, it wasn't, for me, New York was part of it, but it was what I was doing there. And that's just the energy and the geographic location that I wanted to be at the time. But I want you to ask yourself, maybe I'm doing this search. Maybe I'm caught up in all these games because I'm filling my own void. Because I'm not really where I want to be. I'm not doing the job I want to do. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. And so I'm hoping that when I go out and I date enough guys, that somehow that guy is going to make the whole thing come together. Let me tell you, it does not work that way. You want to be making the whole thing come together and then the guys added into that. They will feather in at the right time. And it's not going to be when everything in my life isn't perfect right now. But I'm saying like it will feather in where you're not going to feel like you're leaning on that person for your whole happiness. And so I think that's what we're doing when we're gumball dating, when we're getting caught up in this, it's because we're leaning on that for the high. And so we fall for his games because there is a payoff. So recognize, okay, that was fun. Why was it fun? What did I get out of it? But how do I feel now? Just like a drug, right? Maybe it was fun, like drinking. We can go out, we can drink, we can have fun. But then the next day you feel hungover, you feel sick, you feel like you're dehydrated. So then there's the thud at the end. And it's like, man, was that really worth it? Was it really that fun? Did I really have that great of a time? And then, as we get older, we just drink less and less because we realize, I don't want that hangover. I need to get my rest. This is what I think about wine. If I drink wine, I know I'm not going to sleep as well. And then I'm just going to pay for it. So does this wine taste good enough for me? It really doesn't. So we think about that. Is this interaction worth it? How many times am I going to say, I just want to quote unquote have fun? You can't just have fun and allow your emotions to be manipulated. If you can just do this and stay emotionally detached, then that's a whole other problem. And I know that's not actually happening. We say we're not getting attached. We say we're not being affected, but we actually are being affected. We're just ignoring the effects, thinking, oh yeah, I can just have fun. I can have the gumballs and also pursue real relationships. I can take advantage of this guy who's temporarily fixing me, giving me the temporary fix, and also keep pursuing the long-term guy. But I want to ask you, do you want a guy that's doing that? Do you want a guy who's getting his gumball fix with girls, also hoping to find his long-term girl? Do you want a guy that's got one foot in the gumball world and one foot in the real world? Or do you want a guy that's taken his foot out of that gumball world and is focused on his life and is focused on meeting the right person and he's not playing those games anymore, right? I know. Sometimes my message is not fun to give, but I you know what? But it actually is, because I know this is really what works. And I wish more people were saying it. And actually, I do feel like there are more people saying it. There are some really amazing conversations on Clubhouse right now. I've been listening to this one on Clubhouse called Real Relationship Talk. And I'm just going to pull up Clubhouse right now just to make sure that I am. And it's a room that just kind of goes on and on and on. There were some incredible men talking about relationships and going on their journeys and realizing that they were caught up in just chasing women and having sex and being players, and how they discovered that was horrible for them. It was unhealthy, how they got out of that mess. And so, yeah, get on Clubhouse and listen to some of these conversations, and I'll try to figure out who I really think is saying the right things and not teaching you how to play more games or chase the gumball guy, because games are not the way to intimacy. So remember, intimacy and friendship, that is the foundation of a healthy relationship. Anytime we play a game means we're hiding. If I play a game, I'm hiding something. And when I'm hiding, I'm not able to connect on a real level. So unfortunately, in the process, now this does not mean we bear all in the beginning. I'm not saying that, but intimacy grows as we reveal little pieces of ourselves over time. But we do not build intimacy by hiding things and playing games and manipulating. And that's essentially what's going on with all these gumball games. So if anyone's telling you to manipulate a situation or to try to get someone else to do something you want them to do, how to get him to, there's never a good answer on the end of that. We need people doing things freely from their own hearts. We need them to be at a position where they're ready to give, because relationships take an investment. And if you're not ready to make that investment, if you're not ready to give 100%, there's nothing you can do to make that person do it. So we have to, if you hear that kind of advice, or you see that kind of thing, I want you to immediately think to yourself, okay, I cannot make someone, I cannot manipulate. That is advice that's going to take me down the wrong path. And even if you listen to it, or if you've caught yourself listening to it, or you like a person that gives that kind of advice, always challenge me. I don't care if you send me an email and say, hey, people send me emails. Hey, Melissa, I disagree with you on this. I love it. If you want to disagree with me all day long. But I want you to challenge all the advice that you're getting and make sure it's congruent with how you feel. And does this feel right? Do I feel good in my body doing this, saying this, texting this, emailing this, going on this date? Does this person make me feel like I'm in the right place? Or do I feel, is my gut instinct telling me something's off? I shouldn't be doing this. And it's a process of learning how to trust that over and over and over again. And we don't get it right every time, but eventually you'll get into a flow and then you'll start to see the patterns repeat. And that's really what Gumball Love is watching those patterns repeat, watching the quarter, watching the then you'll start to see, oh, there's the quarter and he wants this gumball and goodbye. And you'll just delete dudes. I started doing that. I was like, oh my God, this isn't even worth one response. I would delete and block and never talk to him again. And you know what? I don't know who any of them are. I couldn't tell you any names. But at the time, I remember thinking, oh, I feel bad. Am I deleting him? Should I say goodbye? No, you don't have to say goodbye. You don't need you can just delete. You can just block. And if he's watching your Instagram and it's affecting how you put content on your Instagram, whether it's personal or you will have a business, block him from seeing it. And I know it's hard, but you cannot show up, especially if you're showing up to deliver content to help other people. You cannot have some gumball guy in your head like, oh man, I've got to look cuter. I've got to be doing, if you're content creating for one dude that you hope watches your stories, your life is not authentic. And you've got to stop doing that so that you are congruent with who you are, what you're saying, because that's how your confidence builds. You erode at your self-confidence by then you're performing, right? You're performing for him, which erodes at you. So in order to show up who we really are, we have to be who we really are. And that's not who you really are, if that makes sense. I know that was a lot of who you really are is over and over. So I'm going to stop there. And if you have questions, if you are at all stuck in any area, or if something about this doesn't make sense to you, if you're saying, yeah, I hear you, but I've got this situation, send me an email, melissa@gumballlove.com. All right, until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more information or to schedule a private coaching session, or better yet, to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballlove.com. If you loved this podcast, I would love for you to share it with your friends. And if you really loved it, a 5-star review is the best compliment you can give. Remember, you are enough, you are right where you should be, and the only thing you have to do is keep going. I'll leave you with my favorite quote by Henry David Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you have imagined. Until next time, I'll see you soon.